As I already said in my past reviews for Genesis cases, I'm always fascinated by them because I didn't expect, honestly, I didn't expect them to be this good. But now and then I do find some things that could be improved in terms of, I don't know, we'll get to that part later on, of course. But nevertheless, this is an outstanding case with everything you get, the design, the color scheme and everything. It could be complete black, it really doesn't matter if it's white or black, but I'm just saying some white cases do stand out a bit more, and this is one of those. So we have today Genesis IRID 505 addressable RGB case that comes with 4 addressable RGB 120mm fans. They're all connected to a controller at the back, where you have an option to connect up to 6 addressable RGB devices and up to 6 fans when we're talking about the speed. Now, talking about some things that I think they should be done inside this case. For instance, I managed to place a 280 at the top, and it fits, well, not perfectly, but it could fit perfectly if they removed a plastic part over here, which kind of, I don't know, it holds the top part. It has a screw that goes into the plastic bit right here, and it, honestly, I think it should be done a bit better so you could place a 280 at top and not have single issues. So what I did is I just used the holes that are on top for the exhaust, not the original holes for 120 or 140 fans, but additional holes that are for outtake. I used those to attach and place the EK-AIO 280, which would be much better if the holes were already there, but they are, just that plastic thing is in the way. Now, when we're talking about radiator configuration, on front you could go with 360, 280 or 240, depends if you decide to leave these fans on front or you want to remove them. At the back we have one 120 fan and you can go with 140, and at the top you can go with, without modifications, 2 140 fans, 2 120 fans or 240mm radiator. I would really like to see a case such as this, to have a 280 on top, just because it can fit. So there are no restrictions for the cables, there are no restrictions for the rams, for the VRMs and for the passive heatsink. Literally I managed to place it inside. So yeah, that would be really awesome. Now the next thing, it comes in full white. You have a tempered glass that has white rims on the side, and what I really like about this is that you get screws for your motherboard and for your SSDs and everything in silver, as well as the thumb screws for the tempered glass. This looks really nice and it goes all together with the white chassis and you know, okay, I messed it up with a black AIO, black cables and a black anti-sag GPU bracket, standoff, whatever, however you want to call it. Also, this case has rubber grommets, which do look okay, but I'd rather go without them because they're black and they kind of not destroy the whole color scheme, but you know, it will look much nicer. This is a surprise. You have 8 PCI lanes here at the back, and honestly, I think it would be much better if they lowered the motherboard for that one PCI lane, giving more space up on top for radiator support, fan support, radiator thickness as well. So this is actually 2 centimeters that you get up on top, which could mean only one thing: Arctic 280 can fit properly on top. There wouldn't be any issues since Arctic has thicker radiators. But nevertheless, so at the back we have quite nice space for cable management and loads of standoffs in terms of using the Velcro tie or zip ties, depending what you have on your hand, to reorganize the cables, since I'm at the cables. So the case comes like this: the fan cables go directly to the rubber grommets on the side, which doesn't look very nice, and I can't argue with that. They placed it like so, but there is always possibility to fix it. And at the back the cables were going everywhere. So what I did is pulled out the cables for the fans, pushed them from the front side, and at the back connecting them to the controller. Everything is now well organized, as you can see, and it looks much appealing, I would say. So imagine having that right from the box when you place the case on your table, and you get all the cables pre-assembled really nicely. That's one thing that I would definitely appreciate when buying a case in general, not just Genesis. In general, having nice and tidy cables that are already inside. Now, let's see about the air restriction. As you can see, you have a nice front meshed part, which really does look quite solid, and in terms of airflow, there are no restrictions when we're talking about that. But with the case, you get an additional dust filter on front, which means you get two of the, let's say, almost same kind on front, lightly blocking the airflow. And my suggestion would be to remove that front dust filter, just to get more air intake from the front fans, and basically getting better temperatures. I'm not saying that the front dust filter that is magnetic won't, this is the same thing, just a longer one. I'm not saying that it will make your components sweat more, but I would say that less restriction for the airflow is much better for the case, and since it's a fine mesh on front, you won't have more dust than usual. That's it. Now also at the back, the controller, here's the thing, really appreciating the controller, really appreciating the six connections for the addressable RGB and 6 DC connection for the fans. But since the controller is connected to SATA, it pumps the speed of the fans at 100% and you can't lower them down. So if you have some sort of a splitters on hand, like, I don't know, 3 to 1, I would suggest connecting them to a splitter and directly to a motherboard, because then you can control the actual speeds. I tried accessing BIOS and adjusting everything through the controller, but the controller bypasses BIOS and just pumps the speed at 100%. Fun enough, it won't affect your thermals by that much, but good to know. So let's go on the top. We have a power on button, which, as you can see, the case with the front addressable RGB fans looks outstanding. And see, they're dead silent. The fans are really good, even though they're 3-pin DC. Usually I will get these kind of speeds on a PWM to adjust them properly, but if you manage to do with the splitter as already suggested, it can really do some wonders. Also at the top, apart from the power on button, you have a reset button, LED button to control the lights. You have two USB 3.0, two USB 2.0 and two 3.5mm jack, audio out and microphone in. Quite solid. I mean, I can't expect from such a case, in this price category and everything, to have a Type-C connection, and I'm quite satisfied with that. But check it out. Until the ASRock polychronicity doesn't turn on, the RAM's RGB just goes into spectrum, so yeah, there's that. But check it out. It's really clean, really nice design, everything is really straightforward. You can even add an LED here at the bottom, because I just noticed it has an opening here and here for the cable to push it in. So that's also a possibility if you want to have some extra lights over here. And I would suggest using those diffuse LEDs, but that's something for another story. So what can I say? The things that you could basically do to improve this case is the initial cable management. I would suggest removing the front dust filter, and all in all, an outstanding case. Now, when we're talking about the outstanding case, let's check about the thermals, what I said. So what I was doing is, we have here the AMD Ryzen 5 7600X. So this is my second build with AM5 platform, and let's check it out. AIDA 64 Extreme Edition with EKAAO 280 DRGB. On CPU and GPU only ticked. CPU went up to 51 degrees Celsius while the GPU went to 53. If I tick CPU, FPU, memory, system memory and cache, the CPU goes up to 60 while the GPU goes up to 55. So I would say nothing drastical here. The case really does have a nice airflow, and even with this processor, it really does work perfectly fine. But as I did for the past review for another case where I had the 7900X, I went with a bit harder benchmark just to see the processor. So Indigo benchmark with the bedroom and supercar, the temperature went up to 77 degrees Celsius. And as already stated in that review, it's not about the case, it's actually about the CPU, because higher temperatures are the new normal, unfortunately, and this is what we get. But as you can see, it's really nice case, I have to admit. Possibilities for the components. Now the GPU goes up to 35 centimeters with the front fans. If you add the radiator, depending on the thickness, you just have to subtract the 35 minus the thickness of the radiator, which is quite cool. I mean, 35 centimeters is quite long for the GPU. As for the CPU, the maximum tower height is 16 centimeters. For the power supply, you really don't have that much restrictions, and if you go above 170 millimeters, you don't have to worry about. But as you can see, and if you saw before when I shown you the backside and the cable management, you can actually put, this is a 15 centimeter Fantex power supply, you have loads of space for the cables, and then you have additional space for the hard drive cage where you can place up to 2 hard drives. You can place at the back 2.5 inch SSDs, and that's it. The hard drive needs to be removed on the side to place the radiator on front, and that's basically it. I'm quite not fascinated. I really like the case, and I can't deny that it's first looking really good, really good. The fans are outstanding and they're quiet, and they do provide nice airflow even when you lower down the speeds. Quite amazing, and it's dead silent. Now also the controller, if not for your fans, you could always go with a controller for your addressable RGB, which gives you loads of modes on the button, and finally you can connect it to a motherboard, getting some special effects through the motherboard software. I would give, again, I do have to say, I would give this case a PC Crazy approved badge, because it's really a great deal and it really does look nice. If you don't like the logos here, Genesis and IRID 505 addressable RGB, you could always put a cover or something out of plexi or a sticker or whatever. It's all up to you, but this is the way they do it, and in some way I am quite alright with it. And I would definitely suggest, if you're looking for some sort of a case that looks like this, that has all of this, and you can check that out in the link in the description below. So if you're interested, go there, click it and check it out. Finally, if you're new to the channel, if you like the content so far, or if you scroll to other videos as well, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. Thank you all for watching, guys, and hopefully I will see you in another one. Bye bye.